Good afternoon, Facebook and YouTube.
Oops.
This is now part 2 of Elizabeth BYLER's testimony. This one here is for after she left. The part 1 was when she grew up from her early memories. She shared how she was abused sexually and physically and mentally, basically, from what you said. Now this is part 2 when she left the Amish and from there on. So both of their names is Elizabeth. And you, Elizabeth, you helped her escape out of the Amish. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And you were the driver to pick her up?
Yes.
So just kind of share when you first left and how that whole thing played out for you.
You can start it if you want.
Go ahead.
So I jumped out the window from the house I went back to the Amish to when I was talking about it in the last video. Jumped out the window, got a hold of her, and she come and picked me up and took me to my mom's. And this time I was done with the Amish. I was done. I was no longer getting abused, no longer being controlled, no longer being told what to do or what I can and cannot do. I was just fed up, you could say. So she took me to my mom's. She stayed there for a while afterwards to make sure I was comfortable, make sure I was okay. My sister came home from school, and mind you, she had never met me before. And she just looked right at me when my mom said, because she goes, "Who the heck is in there on the couch?" My mom goes, "Well, remember how I told you have a sister? She's Amish." And my sister goes, "Yeah, so?" Yeah, and my mom said, "Well, that's her. She just came to come stay with us for good." And she said, "That's not my sister. I don't ever want to see her again." And like all kinds of stuff. So needless to say, we both didn't accept each other at first, but me and my sister are now like this. Like closer than anything in the world. Love my sister to death. Would do anything for her or her children. Same as what she would do for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That day, I remember that I took you back home.
Yeah.
Took you back home?
Yeah. And she was not going to let her sister was not going to let her, we're not going to say names, right?
No names.
Her sister was not going to let Elizabeth take a shower. That was her shower at her mom's
Really?
house.
Yeah.
Did not want her to take a shower at all.
No.
Wow.
Well, it got to the point where when I was growing up, we
Sorry
took
that I said
baths.
that, but yeah.
No, it's okay. We took baths in like foot tubs, what we would call foot tubs out here, what they give you at the hospital, for instance. That is what we took baths in. So the way I was taught to take a bath was you take your tops off, and you wash your tops, and you can put your tops back on, and then do the bottoms and all that. So I did the dumbest thing. This is a little bit of humor into the sadness of everything. I got into the tub with my bottoms on still. My sister walked in and she's like, "Mom!" Screaming for my mom. And I'm like, what? Why is she screaming for Mom? She said, "Mom, you gotta see this. You gotta come up here." So Mom came up and she just busted out laughing, saying, "What do you think you're doing?" Here I was in the shower. Never had a shower like that before. I'm standing there. We don't shave, so they gave me a razor. I'm standing there like, what am I supposed to do with this? With my bottoms still on. My mom walks in, she says, "You're not supposed to take a shower with your clothes still on. Sweetie, you got to take your clothes off." Oh,
You wasn't used to an English shower and how that works, right?
No, not at all. Not one bit.
I love that because I was shown, the person that helped me out of the Amish, I was shown how to turn on the knob and how I was used to sitting in a tub in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, we would have called it a tool, like just a big round tub if we was sitting in anything besides a foot tub. Different homes had different things. So one place I was at, we had the bigger thing we could sit in and it was like a tub. But then other places was just like a foot tub. And I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, wow, this thing is big and there's knobs everywhere and they're saying this is hot and this is cold. And I'm like, I can't figure this out. I don't know what to do. So I just stood there under the water with my clothes on.
So when you first leave, it's kind of a rough start just with all
Yes.
those things you got to learn.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to get used to the fact that you've been brainwashed all your life
Yes.
into believing these English people are such horrible people, and they would never help you. They would never talk you through anything, or, anything like that. And when you start seeing somebody lending a hand out saying, I'm going to help you, or I'll do this for you or that for you, it scares you at first. It really does. It's like, no, that's okay. I got this. And I got to the point where I did that too much, where I wanted to do everything on my own. I got this. I'm going to do it my way. You're not going to tell me what to do. And even with my own mother, I did that too.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the memories I have with my mom are not the greatest. I did look at her one day and say, "You're not my mom, so I don't know where you were all my life. So I don't know why you're trying to tell me I can't go to a party. Get out of here." And I still went to the party. I snuck out and went. Now that she's no longer here, I think about that almost daily, all the time. I know I'm forgiven. I know she knows I'm sorry, but I never got that chance until, and I'm going to leave that until she died. I'll explain everything. So I knew my mom for a year and a half, like I said in the other video, when she really did die in a bus accident. Newcastle Transit Authority bus ran her over and killed her. That was the hardest day of my entire life. I would rather go through the sex abuse every day for the rest of my life than to go through that day one more time. It was the worst. Not only for myself, but for my sister. My sister was just lost. I mean, she tried to kill herself the day of the funeral, run in front of a semi. My sister tried to open the casket. Mind you, we had to have a sealed casket because there was no viewing the body. She was drug a quarter of a mile.
Wow.
When we sued, they said that the bus didn't have the brakes on it that they were supposed to. The city had asked the state to pay for the brakes, and they never did. Nobody paid for the brakes, so when they seen her, they couldn't stop.
So they didn't have brakes to be able to stop.
Right.
For that, okay.
The bus driver admitted before they committed him into a psych ward for seeing what he did. He said, I seen her, but I couldn't stop. That was his excuse to the police from the get. And when he got off the bus and seen what he did, he lost his mind. Now, me and my sister were just at my mom's grave just the other day, and we both come to an agreement that we are going to write a letter to this man and forgive him.
Wow, that's powerful.
Because he is still a bus driver, and he deserves forgiveness either way. He did not mean to do it. It was an accident. And for us to have peace with what he did and ripped from our arms and our hearts and everything, it'll give us peace, I believe.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
Really
that will help him and you move past that. Because there's a deep hurt there, but for you to be able to find forgiveness is wonderful. Because now you can move past that, and it'll help you and him.
Yes, I agree.
And this happened just a year and a half after you finally learned met your real mother.
Yes.
That's oh wow.
Yes. And that's what was the hardest part about it, is like I didn't know her for 17 years. And then I got to meet her for a year and a half, and my life was just perfect. It was just so great. And she had told us the night before she died, and it was really weird that she would say this. Like, when you look back and look at it, the signs were there that God might have been speaking through her to us, because the way she said goodnight was not just goodnight, girls, like normal. She said goodnight, angels.
Angels. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And she had asked me to walk with her. And I said, no. I said, we got kids we got to watch, because we babysat a lot of kids. And we had kids that day and everything. So when we woke up the next morning, she was already gone. She had already walked off. And she was going to one of our adoptive aunts, because when we leave the Amish, we make our own families pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
we don't have nobody, they say, oh, I'd like for you to call me aunt. So we had somebody that was like that. A few of them, actually. And the one that she was going to play spades and card game. And she just wouldn't get there. We called, and we was like, is Mom there yet? And they're like, no. So we called a different aunt, another one that we just called aunt. Said, is she there? Because sometimes she would, go there before she goes somewhere else. No, she's not there. In the meantime, we did hear somebody was hit by a bus downtown. But when we called people to ask, they said that the woman had a purple shirt on. Mom left with a blue shirt on, mind you. But what we didn't realize is when she was hit, the shirt turned purple because it was blood.
So that's why they described her as a purple shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. That just breaks my heart that you were able to finally meet your mother, and then a year and a half later, she just gets ripped away from you like that.
It's like this. When it first happened, I hated God. I literally got on my knees after I found out that it was Mom that got killed, because me and my sister went to go get cigarettes, and we was on our way back from getting cigarettes, and we just seen all these cops lining up in front of our house. And we said, oh, no. And we seen our stepdad, soon-to-be stepdad, he was getting married to Mom soon after that she would have died now, that he crumbled to the floor, just screamed out, no. And when we heard him, those shrieks from him, we did the same. And I got down on my knees and I looked right up at the sky and I said, God, I will never forgive you for this. You effing took my mom away from me. I will never go to another church. I will never want to talk to you again. I hate you.
Because you didn't understand how something like that could happen. So you're broken to the point where you don't understand why God would allow that.
Right, exactly. And needless to say, my sister was kind of the same way, but even worse. She was more like the suicidal side of it. Me, myself, I just didn't want to accept, and I didn't want to see it as God took her home, first off.
Right.
I had accepted that there was a God when I left the Amish, but not to that extent. I wasn't saved. I wasn't baptized. None of that.
So after this happened, going through such a horrific thing, I talked to you a little bit on the phone the other day, and now you ended up going to drugs for the answer. You didn't come to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ, so to speak, right away.
Right.
So now you became, what, a drug addict after that?
Really bad drug addict. I mean, I used the excuse of my life, what I went through in the Amish, and then coming to meet my mom, and she's dying. So I'm going to use drugs to cover up how I feel, to hide the pain, to help me with the pain of losing her and what I went through without her.
So you used drugs to try to numb that pain.
Yes.
That you had deep inside. You were hurting so bad, so you just want to just kill that pain, so you go to drugs and alcohol. Did you do alcohol too, or?
Not so much alcohol. Alcohol was more when I was Amish and I just wanted to fit in with the Amish kids. The drugs was after Mom died. The very weekend that she died, I tried to OD. I was let out of the hospital long enough to go to the hospital or to the funeral and everything. We sang Amazing Grace at her funeral. My sister tried to open the casket. It was horrific that day, but at the same time, I now got scared again. And instead of running back to the Amish where I normally would have ran to, I went to the first person that said they would help me get out of town. Just go. Don't think about nothing. Pack a bag and go. So what did I do? I packed one garbage bag full of clothes and I ran to New York. Now in New York, where I moved to, I didn't know this woman from Adam and Eve, is what I always say. But the woman and the man were actually drug dealers. And the very first night I was there, they put me on what is called Special K ketamine, a very strong drug, acid. I still have a scar right here on my arm where I passed out and they kept putting cigarettes out on my arm.
Oh, wow.
To try to wake me up is what they said. But I woke up, I had a big blister on my arm. The last thing I remember is looking out the window and not even realize how high the window was. And I was dancing in front of the window and fell. That's the last thing I remember. Then waking up with that humongous blister that I still have a scar. It reminds me every day of where I was and where I came from.
Yeah. God wasn't done with you yet. He didn't let you go out that way.
Nope. And that's not the end of God not being done with me. I mean...
So what happened after that, after the drugs and stuff? What made you finally lay that down?
So I was stuck in the drug world for years. I had children. I was still in the drug world. I was just stuck. I didn't care if I lived or died, tried to OD, I don't know how many times. I just didn't care. I literally did not care about life and death or anything. I wanted to be with my mom, period. And so I became a stripper. You don't even know this story.
Yeah, you didn't tell me that. But you share whatever you want to share.
I became a stripper, and again, that was my way of taking care of my habit of drugs. Now, it was raining the night that I was done working, so we stopped at a hotel, and we had a crotch rocket motorcycle. So the next day, it was beautiful. May 20th, beautiful, 2009. And we didn't think nothing of it. We got on our bike, took off, never thinking it could be the very last time that we get on that bike, first off. But we're going down the road, and normally when we're in West Virginia, you have to wear a helmet. But when you get into PA, you can take it off. So normally we would have. Mm-hmm. For some reason that day, we did not stop at the truck stop and take our helmets off. And it wasn't 2 miles after the truck stop, a cop started following us. Now, mind you, the driver did not have a bike license. So what did he do? He ran. And the cops ended up putting the roadblock up. And as he got to the roadblock, he made a U-turn to get away from the roadblock. And the cop ran right into the back of the motorcycle. My leg was upside down backwards in my lap.
Oh, wow. So he was backwards, bent all the way back.
Yep.
And now you have had to get it amputated? Cut
After
off?
7 years, I did. But
After 7 years?
Yeah. But let's back it up just a little, because
Okay.
this is where it gets really good. This is where the testimony comes in. So I was life-flighted to Allegheny General Hospital and then transferred to Presbyterian in Pittsburgh. And while I was there like 5 days. They kept waking me up and put me back to sleep, waking me up, put me back to sleep, and seeing if my heart could stand the pain to stay awake. It couldn't, so they put me back to sleep. Well, 5 days into it, they came in, and I remember seeing the doctors and nurses around my bed praying. I remember that. But I asked the doctor, I said, "Can I please have your hand?" And he said, "Sure, why?" I said, "Because I want to pray."
Wow. I'm getting goosebumps already. Wow.
And so they all did. We all prayed. And I asked God, if you can just give me one last chance to make my life right. I will do whatever it takes. Go to church, get saved, get baptized, follow your ways. Whatever you want me to do, I will do. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, I always could not put those drugs down because it tasted too good to me. The smell was too good to me. The sound of it was a trigger. Anything that reminded me of the drugs, I would be doing the drug. So, needless to say, from that point out, I had a ruptured spleen, and I knew what a ruptured spleen meant because my first husband died from a ruptured spleen before my accident. So, I'm like, ruptured spleen, wait a second, what? I'm dying. And they told me I was not going to make it. They was going to start calling family in and stuff. And when I did that prayer, the doctor comes in half hour or so later, and he says, I don't know how you did it or what happened, but it's a miracle. Your spleen stopped bleeding.
Praise God. God had his hand on you.
Yep.
And you prayed. He knew your heart. You were done. You were fed up. You asked for the doctor's hand so you can pray together.
Yep.
That's powerful.
It's very powerful. And it brought me back to who I am today. I mean, I don't take life for granted, not one day, not 1 second of the day. And it's always about God, what Jesus did for us all. And honestly, if I can come from where I was to today and be saved and know that I have a home in heaven with God, then I know anybody else can too.
Yeah.
Because I've been through it, and I've been through it all. And I am not saying this to say I'm better than this person or that. Not at all. And I'm not saying this stuff about the Amish because I think I'm better than the Amish.
Right.
Not at all. I'm saying this to give awareness of what does happen in the Amish. And saying that what Eli and everybody is trying to put out here and show you guys that the Amish are like is truth. And I'm a witness to it. So I'm just going to say it like, honestly, if it wasn't for having closure with my mom, because needless to say, when I was in and out of that sleep awake, I had a vision of me laying beside the road, dead.
You had a vision
Out
of
of
that.
body experience is what they called it.
Right.
And I seen my dead mother. And she was in this white flowing gown, and it was just like blowing in the wind. And she's closer and closer and closer. She comes like right in front of me, and she just goes, "Not your time, baby girl." And then poof, she was gone. And I was back into feeling the pain and back in my own body.
That is powerful right there. So you actually had that vision. You saw her.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
that
not
was
that time.
that was my closure. That was my closure. I got to say my goodbyes.
Yes.
And I gave it all to God. And ever since then, life could not be better.
Yeah. Praise God for showing you, allowing you to see that. That way you know she's safe. She's with Jesus. And someday you are going to join her.
Yes.
Powerful.
Oh, I know that's for sure. 100%.
Absolutely.
Even though she believed even up until the day she died, I remember her saying many, many times that I know I'm going to hell because I left the Amish. Because that's what we're taught. If you leave the Amish, you're automatically going to hell. It doesn't matter how good you live your life. If you're saved or not, or get baptized, it doesn't matter. You're still not saved. You're still not safe from not going to hell. You're going to hell if you leave.
When you're brainwashed like that, that's hard to let go of that, because I had guilt for many years, and to be honest with you, that's why I didn't read my Bible. I thought I had to be Amish to be a Christian. I thought I had to be Amish to go to heaven.
Same. And I've even asked, and even my husband now, I got remarried since my first husband died, and he is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. He changed my life from, well, it was okay. You know, I was doing okay on my own, but I say he's my better half because he's brought me further than I could have on my own. But he really has been there with me through every surgery I've ever had. So when I had my accident, I had 30 places broke in my left leg, a ruptured spleen, and was told I was going to die, like I said. They put the leg back together in 20 hours in Pittsburgh. Thank God for that, right?
Yeah.
However, I had surgery every year to try to fix the leg to make it better to walk. I trusted a doctor in Greenville, Pennsylvania, that I should have never trusted. He was taking rods and plates and screws and stuff that they put in there to keep in my leg, to keep me on my leg to walk. He had taken something out every time he did a surgery. So a surgery once a year for 7 years. Mind you, my husband was there through all the surgeries.
Wow.
Every single time. And when we finally had to give up on the leg, the doctor had pinched off a nerve when he did my knee replacement in March of 2016. And by 2016 in September, same year, my foot was about that thick, huge, purple, just had no color, had no feeling, just dead.
Wow.
So I got 3 opinions before I gave up. And when I went back to Pittsburgh, a different doctor, he said, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There is no saving the leg. We have to amputate, and it has to be above the knee. Now, mind you, above the knee amputation is much harder than below the knee because you still have your knee to move and, control.
Right.
With above the knee, you can't control it. It bends when it wants to bend until you get it in your mind when it's going to, and you get used to it. I'm still not used to it. 2016, I lost it, and I still can't stand it. However, I say today that I lost my leg because I didn't want to accept God. I didn't want to accept what my life was without God and now what it is today.
You actually understand that God allowed those things to happen. You can now look back. You don't hate God. There's a phone call coming in, but you would say that you now understand that God does allow those things to happen,
Yes.
and you don't hate God for it.
No. I feel that I was in the accident to wake me up, and it did wake me up. It woke me up to a whole new love of God and a whole new world.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Wow. And now you're saved, and you're praising God, and it makes you stronger.
Yes.
You seem like a strong woman now. For all that you've went through, you're stronger on the other side.
My counselors say that, but I still struggle. I still have struggles just like anybody else. I don't get suicidal. They have me on medication to keep that mind of everything.
Yeah.
But I have PTSD, as they call it, post-traumatic stress disorder. So I have to be on that medication, or I have really bad panic attacks to the point where, as Liz, the other Liz that was over here, would tell you, I won't breathe. And I can't breathe. I feel like something's stuck in my throat and I can't breathe, and they take me to the hospital. I've been life flighted over it. Multiples of things.
So you definitely got to be on that med.
Oh, yes.
Medicine.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, thank you very much for sharing everything you shared. I mean, that's a powerful testimony. I feel like I got it made in life. I haven't been through not even a third, not even an ounce of what you've been through. So.
Well, they always say that there's always somebody in the world that had it worse than you. I would actually like to meet the person that had it worse.
I would too. I mean, the person that might have had it worse than you might have not even be here anymore. They might have actually committed suicide.
That is very possible. Absolutely. I mean, it does make you feel powerless. It does make you feel like you can't go on. You just can't do it. You can't do it when you're doing it on your own.
Right.
But if you hand it over to God, I'm here as a witness to say and testify to, you can hand it over to Him, and He will deliver you from whatever you're going through.
Yeah. Well, you're the perfect testimony for that. You put it all in God's hands, and He'll get you through it.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, thank you very much for sharing. Now, everybody, before we hang up, I want to let you know that Elizabeth, she makes these custom-made cups, right? Tumblers or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
You can put on anything you want to put on these cups. She'll make them for you. It's called Amish Divas Sparkling Tumblers. And she can make them custom, personalized. If you want your favorite sports team, is that correct? You
Yeah.
can put just about anything?
Yep. Any picture you want, any color you want, any theme you want, you just send me a private message. You let me know what you want, and I create it.
So there you go. If you want a special cup custom made with your kids' names, or your special team that you like, sports team, or your name, your personal name, just get a hold of her.
Memorial cups. A lot of people do memorial cups for people that have died.
Okay.
They get their, like he said, children's pictures on it, or husband and wife, and then the kids on the back. I can do whatever you choose. Just look it up. Amish Divas Sparkling Tumblers is my Facebook page for the business. And so, that being said, I am an amputee. I accept that I'm an amputee. But it does not stop me. Today, it made me stronger. Because I drive Amish, and I do cups. Let me tell you, that keeps you busy. Very, 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 very busy. So, today we drove 3 hours and 45 minutes to come to his church and do this video for you guys. So, it slows me down, but it doesn't stop me. Having
a prosthetic leg does not stop you, is what you're saying.
Yes.
That's awesome. I just love your motivation. I mean, I'm inspired by you. That's amazing. But anybody, if there's nothing she can't put on a cup. So if you want to get a hold of her and order a cup of your choice, names, whatever you want to put on it. Maybe you got a loved one that passed away, you can put the name or picture on there. So you can pretty much do all of it then.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey.
Any names, any pictures, any colors, any themes. And my Facebook, if you wanted to look me up, send a friend request or anything like that, is Elizabeth BYLER. I have long, straight hair. I don't have my long straight hair today.
Well, hey, thank you very, very much for wanting to be hop on here and share your testimony in the first video, part 1, and then also part 2, just to share your story. It's amazing. It's powerful.
Could you put the name of her business in the chat?
Yes, we can do that. Ines Schwartzentruber, could you put the name of her business in the chat? I will do that. Melinda Frieger, Liz, you are amazing. And the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you strong, fits your story.
Yeah, that's Michaela Flieger. I made her cups.
You made her some
That's
cups?
who she is, yeah.
Okay. So she's bought some of your cups?
Yes.
Okay.
And they love them. Every single one of them, yep.
But yes, I will put that information in the comments, and that way you know how to get a hold of Elizabeth. And
Yeah, there you go.
Get your own cup made.
Yep.
Thank you.
Personalized, customized, made by me.
Awesome. All right, thank you very much. God bless you all.
God bless.